is on many occasions that parents, guardians, or maybe even friends find themselves traveling with a child to another country for a vacation, to seek medical attention, or to maybe just visit relatives. It is during these times that we may encounter difficulties when we try to cross the border, only to have the children we're with denied movement because we are not in possession of what is called a travel consent. Today I am with Patimon Petolang, a practicing attorney of Ndadi Law Firm, to discuss the subject of the travel consent or the travel affidavit. So this is why we welcome you to another episode of The Law Today. I am your host, Rorisang Arnold. Patimon Petolang, thank you for coming by.
Thank you, Rorisang, for having me.
Our topic of discussion today, this episode, is the travel consent affidavit. Can you explain to us what that is and who really needs it?
A travel consent is an authorization that basically says a minor child has been authorized to go across the border, and that is to cross the national borders and into another country, one country to the next. And basically, a minor is a person who is required to have a travel consent. A minor, we are talking about someone who is below the ages of 18. The reason why this authorization is required is because minors are categorized as people who do not have the capacity to contract by themselves. They do not have civil liability nor criminal liability. So you find that there is an adult, a guardian, who is usually in charge of them. They are the ones who are responsible for them. So that's why travel consent are required when a minor crosses the border.
Isn't the passport enough? Why the need for other documents?
It's a long story. There are issues of human trafficking that is trying to be addressed by this issue. Minors are people who are easily taken advantage of. So this requirement is put in place to avoid this high risk of human trafficking that is seen around the world. So you do need to actually show that there is authorization from this minor to leave one jurisdiction to enter the other one.
Is this a requirement of our country and other nations? Or
In
is it
our
just Botswana
country,
only?
we have a policy that basically says there has to be travel consent when you leave in Botswana and enter other countries. This came by way of a cooperation that we had to get into. South Africa has recently enacted a law that makes it mandatory that whenever a minor child enters or exits its borders, they have to have travel consent that emanate from a guardian or a parent. So we had to do this to comply, so that there is consistency, so that there is cooperation. We do not want to find ourselves in a situation where, for example, you are traveling to South Africa, and in our country when there's no requirement of a travel consent, you will not be able to enter the borders of South Africa when you are traveling with a minor child. So we had to make it a policy in our own jurisdiction.
So if you're Botswana traveling with a minor child, wherever you want to go, you must acquire all these documents.
Yes.
So where do you go then to get
So
them?
long as you are leaving the borders of Botswana into any country, you have to have travel consent.
Where do you get these documents, the travel consent affidavit?
You prepare the affidavit, and you need to have relevant and specific items included in the document. And it's important that it has to be commissioned before a commissioner of oath. Commissioner of oath can be a police officer of a particular rank, and also before an attorney or an officer of the court in that case.
Is it just the affidavit to accompany the passport? Are there any other documents required?
You also have, because the specific content of the travel affidavit has to specifically indicate that the biological parent or the guardian of that minor child consents. That parent has to be described in the document, and the description of that particular parent is backed up by a certified copy of an ID or mang. And you also need to have a certified copy of the birth certificate that goes along with it.
This introduces a problematic instance or situation here where we find motsadi o tlabeng a sa travelele ngwana or refusing with the documents, with pertinent documents. Is this lawful?
It's actually, let me clarify that situation for you. You may be a parent traveling with a minor child, and there's another parent who is staying behind. Assuming that the parent who is staying behind unreasonably refuses to grant you the travel document, that is where you find a scenario where if the consent is unreasonably withheld, you can approach the court. And the court can actually grant you an order that basically says that you can cross the borders without the requisite travel consent, travel affidavit emanating from the other parent.
Patsimo, let's take a breath. We must go for break. But when we come back, we're going to explore this scenario a little bit further. Stay with us. Tell me then, molao o tlama gore go be go na leng mo travel consenting?
Go botlhokwa gore travel consent e be e supa wena motho e leng gore o tsaya loeto le ngwana. E tshwanetse gore e balolle di-particulars tsa gago, e le leina la gago, passport number ya gago, kgotsa le ebile ID number ya gago e go supile mo mokwalong mo. Go supa gore botsadi kana motsadi wa ngwana o rebola wena gore ko yena e leng gore o ka tlola molelwane ka ngwana wa gagwe. Tse dingwe ke tsone tse nne ke nkile ka di tlhalosa gore go tshwanetse gore go supe destination ko yang teng, e tshwanetse gore e supe gone gore lo tsamaya lebaka le le kae, le gone gore e tlebe e le mo tirisong for sebaka se se kae. Molao o ba e le gore travel consent e tsa dikgwedi tse 3 gore e tebe expire, mme mo go yone wena o le motsadi o kgona go supa gore ke mo rebola gore a tsamaye sebaka se se kana.
Kgang ya travel consent re ka re ya mana jang le tshireletso ya bana?
E botlhokwa ka gore mo Children's Act go na le di-rights tse e leng gore di balolwa e le tsa ngwana ebile e le tsa motsadi. Motsadi mongwe le mongwe o na le teta ka molaong gore a kgone gore a access ngwana wa gagwe. Jaanong ha ngwana tsa loeto go tle bo go ira gore go dinaya motsadi o salelang ko morago sebaka kana tshono ya gore ha batla go accessa ngwana wa gagwe a ska kgona go dira jalo ka gore o tebe a tlodile molelwane a le mo lehatsheng le sele. Jaanong go botlhokwa gore ebe a itse gore ngwana wa tsamaya ebile a re botse gore ngwana wa tsamaya. Go na le thulaganyo e beilweng ka gore di-rights tsa gagwe e le motsadi tsa gore a be a kgona gore a kgone go accessa ngwana di tlebe di interferega mo sebakeng seo. Ke tsone se go leng botlhokwa gore there has to be consent of the other parent if one parent is remaining.
Are the rights of the adult traveling le ngwana or this minor featured in this?
Yes, the rights the parent traveling with this minor child also has rights to make decisions pertaining to the minor child, to choose to travel. So if this particular parent who has chosen to take a journey across the border says, I'm denied the opportunity to travel by the parent who is staying behind, they can seek a court order that compels or that disposes with the consent of the parent who is remaining behind to consent to that.
Rutlile thata ka batsadi bana bone jaanong ra reng ka bone mo kgangeng?
Bana le bone molao wa ba sireletsa gore lehelo le ba nnang mo go lone ba tshwanetse gore ba nne in a stable and continuous environment. ke dingwe tse e leng gore di a balolwa mo Children's Act gore ba tshwanetse gore ba nne in a stable and continuous environment. Jaanong ha ba nna ba ntse ba tsewa ba isiwa kwa golo mo go disturb environment e ba nna mo go yone e ba itwaetseng. Jaanong molao o bereka go sireletsa gabedi. Go sireletsa gone gore ngwana ha kgopolo ya tlhoa isiwa kwa le kwa ke motsadi a le mongwe hela ha thopa. Ke ka go fa sekai ha go ne go sena molao oneo motsadi o mongwe na ka tola le molwana le ha tshaba tsamaya. O mongwe a bata complaina ebe gore ala goreng ngwana o boela mo Botswana golo mo ke go ga ngwana go mo disturb mo environment ya nantse mo go yone ya nantse a itwaetse mo ene le gore ha ene le gore go tshimologong go tsere consent kana authorization ya motsadi o salang gwa be go dumelwa kana gwa be go gana go no go sena kganye ya gore go kumola ngwana mo lehelong le a isiwa ko lehelong le hela jalo.
Welcome back. You're still watching The Law Today, and I'm still with our guest, Patimo Mpetolang from Ndadi Law Firm. Now, Mpetolang, before going for break, we were exploring the scenario where the remaining parent, the motsadi bengasa travelele, the minor child, decides to deny consent for travel. Janong, what do we say about this individual? What action can be taken against this remaining parent?
Well, like I explained earlier on, ga gona gope mo molaong wa Botswana mo acting epe ya Botswana e leng gore e dira gore ke right ya gore go be go na le di travel requirement ya travel consent. Ke policy e leng gore re itse re amogela mo lehatsheng la rona. Go ga gona di penalty tse leng gore di lebagane directly le basic refusal. Ha go setse go tsena mo dikganyeng tse dintsenyana go seka sikiwa gore lebaka la gore o gana ka go ntsha tetla ya go travela ke eng le gone go lebellwa gore lebaka la go travela ke eng.
Because traveling cannot necessarily be for holidaying or vacationing, it could be for medical attention.
Molao wa the Children's Act o fa tetla kana o dira mandatory gore ngwana mongwe le mongwe a kgone gore a nne le right ya education, right ya botsogo bo bo itwalang bo rileng. Jaanong assuming that o motsadi o batla go tola molwane o ya mabakeng a tsa sekolo o ya mabakeng a tsa botsogo ebe motsadi o mongwe a gana ka teseletso ya gore ka tola molwane go a sekasekwa go a lebellwa. Jaanong go kgona go ithala le gore indirectly go tlodile melao e mengwe gape e leng gore e setse e le teng e beilwe mo lehatsheng la rona la Botswana. Ha re itlhala le gore one of the rights have been infringed. Children's Act e ba go nehela gore if you infringe one of the provisions of the Children's Act, there is a sanction that is found therein.
Give us an example.
For example, there is an issue of denial of child access. There is an issue of failure to contribute towards the maintenance of the minor child or to contribute towards the welfare or the education. If you fail and or refuse to comply with any one of those things, the law can actually impose a sanction of you and state that you can be fined 5,000, 20 or 30,000 thereabout. So the provision can be extended such that you can state the fact that you denied me the authorization to travel and I wanted to travel for medical reasons of the minor child. It can be seen as indirectly you are denying that minor child the opportunity to get medical treatment. You are denying that minor child the opportunity to education. So such sanctions can be read therein.
How many times do you have to apply or acquire a travel consent? How long does this consent last?
Standardly, it takes 3 months. For instance, if you made it on the 1st of March, it's gonna lapse in the 1st of July. So that's 3 months. But I had mentioned that specifically you can indicate that it's only for this particular duration. It cannot overlap it cannot exceed 3 months. But you can shorten it, specifically shorten it in the document.
Now, what are some of the common mistakes Botswana are most likely to make when arranging these documents?
Sometimes they leave behind copies of identity documents of the biological parent or the guardian, or they fail to properly describe the particular person who is traveling with the child. So the document ends up being obscure. It's not really clear who the authorization to travel is given to. That is the most important element of it, because there has to be a trace as to who was traveling with this minor child.
According to what you said before going for break, we're clear, South Africa requires these documents. Now, in the instance where you go to a completely different country, do you necessarily have to show them to the immigration officers?
You do. It's a policy now in Botswana. So when we leave all borders of Botswana, either Namibia, either Zimbabwe or Zambia, you still need to produce them.
Are there instances where a traveling adult moving with a minor child is able to cross the border without such documents?
No.
Now, if one is found to have crossed the border without a travel consent, what penalties are they likely to face?
That amounts to child abduction. Luckily, the Children's Act actually covers or has a provision under it where it provides for penalties in place if a parent abducts a child. Abduction, we understand it is when there's absolutely no authorization for whomsoever might have taken the child to take away the child. So the penalties then could include a fine of around 20 to 30 or even 50,000, or even a term of imprisonment.
I'm Petulang. We're going to put a pin on our conversation. We're going for break, but when we come back, we'll be on the final phase of the law today. Stay with us. Welcome back. You're still watching The Law Today, and we are on our final phase. My guest lawyer, Patimon Petulang, and I are discussing the travel consent. Now, this is what we have learned from our discussions. When you're crossing the border with a minor child, you're going to require, or you're going to have to come with a travel consent. This is authorization from both parents allowing their child to cross the border into another country. This is in addition to a passport, of course. Now, by a minor child, we're referring to an individual who's 18 years and younger. And now this travel consent is valid for 3 months. Now, a word of caution, if you're that parent that's going to deny your child, your minor child, the right to maybe education or comprehensive health care, for whatever reason, you will most likely be facing penalties. The travel consent is not necessarily issued in some other country. It's for other important issues as well. Now, Mpetulang, sorry, what happens if the non-traveling parent passes away or has died?
There's a reason why one of the requirements is a birth certificate. The birth certificate includes details of, obviously, the minor child, the biological parents. It may include the father, or it may not include the father, sorry. In cases where one of the parents in the birth certificate is deceased, what you travel with will be the death certificate of the other parent that is named in the birth certificate. So that will be what shows that there is no need for authorization, or the person who would authorize the travel is no more.
Single parent families tend to see the other parent
generally
missing.
If the other
from
parent
the
is not named in the birth certificate, there is no need for a travel consent. You can just go through the borders. for a travel consent. You can just go through the borders.
In the instance where parents are divorced or separated, in the instance where the one parent has sole custody, will the other parent who does not have this advantage feature in regards of granting consent for travel?
Basically, when there's a divorce, and in that divorce there are minor children where the divorce order specifically speaks about their custody, you determine whether the parent who's traveling is given sole custody of the minor child or there is an issue of joint custody. If the parent has sole custody, then there is no requirement of the law, there is no requirement for the other parent to consent. It means they have full guardianship over that minor child. But if it's joint custody, then you definitely need the authorization from the other parent to say, I authorize you to cross the border with this child. That is required.
A travel consent is authorization from a parent who's remaining, who's not traveling with a minor child. Now, in the instance where this child's parents are dead and there hasn't been an order for guardianship, where do we go?
We are talking about an orphan in this case, are we not?
Yes.
In the case of an orphan, we have a caregiver. You will simply indicate that you are the person who is in custody of the minor child.
Before such details are finalized, if there's need for travel, if there's an emergency, say a health emergency, what do we do?
Well, I'm going to refer back to the birth certificate. It will show that the mother is deceased, if at all the mother is deceased. If at all the mother is deceased or the father is deceased, both parents are deceased and they're both named in the birth certificate, you have to carry their death certificate. In the case where both parents are absent or nowhere to be found, that's another case. You have to show that you being the person who is in possession or has custody of the minor child, their issue, or you make a clarification to show that the parents, the biological parents to these minor children, we don't know where they are. That declaration has to be made.
Say we're in South Africa, because South Africa is pretty strict about the travel consent, and you lose it, perchance. What do you do? Where do you go?
Well, in that case, you can try to liaise with the other parent in Botswana or wherever country that you may be coming from to show that, or to fax a copy of the travel consent to you where you might be, to enable you to be able to enter the country. Or you can go to the nearest police station and actually depose to an affidavit of the sort so that you may be able to cross back into your country.
Do we see parents or guardians cooperative or compliant with this requirement in the country?
We have had quite a number of cases going to court where we have to move an urgent application to say that consent is being unreasonably withheld, and there are compelling reasons why the minor child has to travel to the next country, and you are basically saying the other parent is unreasonably withholding them. So yes, it's actually becoming a trend before the courts in Botswana. So one might actually wonder, did it do more harm than good? Because you find that the innocent parents in this case are the ones who are suffering. A lot of plans had to be cancelled, or a lot of plans never went through because the other parent refused or was not available.
Now, before we close, what is your advice regarding this matter?
We see scorned lovers in this case, where they use it as an opportunity to get back at the other parent. For instance, someone might say, you are not taking my child across the border for joyride, or with whomsoever you may have moved on with. So there are ill motives behind refusal. There are very few instances where it can be said that it was reasonable for me to deny or refuse consent. Note, when you are a parent and you have custody of the minor child, the child also has the right to be able to bond with you, to be able to enjoy that particular parent in that environment. So if a parent has made travel plans, and the child also has right to be able to enjoy the said capacity that you are traveling under. It may not always have to be for school or health or such other reasons. Even for recreational purposes, the child still has to be able to enjoy that.
Mempatolong, we need to go. We need to pack up and go. Thank you very much for coming by, and thank you very much for illuminating this subject.
Thank you, Rorisan, for having me.
And this is also a goodbye to you, our viewers at home. Don't forget to connect with us online. Our details are on your screen below. As for next time, we will see you on another episode of The Law Today. Goodbye.